Hello and welcome back to Education Made Extraordinary by Zivrap Education, our video blog looking at how to educate the children of this and the next generation. So today we're going to be talking about one thing in particular, and that's the value of education. Now, from my perspective, one of the most interesting stories to surface in the last 10 to 20 years is the story of Malala. And the reason I found it so fascinating is because Malala herself fought to keep her education. And she fought for that in probably the most shocking way possible in the end. And yet, she wouldn't change a thing. What's really interesting about Malala's story is that having come from a country where her education was about to be taken away from her, and where she spoke strongly against that stance, she moved to this country and she met students in England who had access to education regardless of whether they were male or female or regardless of their ethnicity. And she recognised that a lot of these children didn't value their education as much as she had. They didn't fight for their education, nor were they prepared to. In fact, she noted that they very much took it for granted. Now, this was something that stuck out to me like a sore thumb. Why is it that here there is a culture of not valuing education as much as a student ought to? We could blame it on the fact that we have education freely and students have the opportunity to educate themselves, so they've never had to fight for it. So why would you value something that you've never had to fight for? I don't think that's completely accurate. We could argue that given that education is a universal right, the possibility of not having it seems shocking, and so students don't even worry about that. But I think it goes beyond that. Today's culture is slightly different, and we hear about people regularly making successes of their life without necessarily having a full education. Now, that's not wrong, that's great, it's wonderful if you can do it. And I'm not taking it away from any celebrity or any other person who has managed to get to that stage without having a full education. But if students are looking at get-rich-quick options, or they're looking at the person that they admire most being a footballer or a reality TV star, none of those require full education as such. All they require is having a personality, a skill, or a talent. None of those things are negative, but if you look at it on balance, education opens hundreds of doors. It opens the opportunity to educate yourself to a degree where you have hundreds of different career options available to you. Whereas if you hone your skill and focus on that skill alone, you are one out of millions of people competing for that one position, and it's great if you get it. But what if you lose it? And what if you don't? What's your backing? And maybe that's the story we need to be telling students today, that education opens doors, opens more doors. Yes, be skilled, be talented, be a reality TV star if you need, but what's wrong with being an educated reality TV star? And what's wrong with being an educated footballer? And what's wrong with being a celebrity that has smarts? Nothing. So, education opens doors. And that's the story we need to be telling. And maybe that way we'll get our kids to value education the way that they ought to.